Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tessa, and we're going to continue on with my story of my life. In the last video, I touched on that I had a friend named Tim. Now we go on to what becomes part of the really pivotal part of my life. I didn't think I was being treated fairly at home. I wasn't having a very good home life, so I decided to run away. And become independent at 14, 15, I think I was 15. As part of that, Tim and I decided one night that we were going to tell our parents that he was coming to stay at my place, and I told my parents I was going to watch him play basketball. And we hitchhiked to Noosa. We spent the night on the beach, sleeping in the sand, freezing cold, and then walked from Noosa Heads back out to Tewantin before we got another ride, and we ended up in Rockhampton. Now, when we got to Rockhampton, we struggled to get a lift. Tim decided he was going to ring his parents, and he went home. But his parents said, "You found your way there, you find your way home." So Tim had to hitchhike back home. Now me, I had no intentions of going home. I'd made my mind up that was me. I was going to live my life as an independent person. So the police officer we were talking to took me to a youth shelter, and then I spent the next 6 months living in Rocky, going to school. Always wanted to try and complete my education. Hung around again with some pretty nefarious sorts. Stopped a couple of Aboriginal kids from getting bashed because the racism was pretty strong up there, which gave me a little bit of standing with the Aboriginal community in Rockhampton. They left me alone. Again, like in Kalanga, I could go and do things that other white fellas couldn't do. One of those great little adventures I did with the Aboriginals, which was a bit interesting, was jumping off the train bridge into the Fitzroy River. People who know Rockhampton will know that the Fitzroy River is full of crocodiles. I didn't know that at the time. It was probably the third time I jumped into the river. I was getting out and I just grabbed this pole that was on the side of the riverbank. And I finally looked up and went, "Oh." I said, "Guys, are there crocodiles in the river? Because the sign was saying don't swim, crocodiles." They went, yeah, it's all good, it's all good. And I go, "Why is it all good? If there's crocodiles, why the frig are we swimming here?" And they go, "It's because they're over there on the bank." And there was 2 6-7 foot crocodiles sitting on the bank. And they go, "Well, why is there? We're all good." And that was the last time I jumped into the Fitzroy River. Towards the end of the 6 months when I was there, Tim had gone home. His parents had moved to Sydney. We'd still been in sporadic conversations and communication. Tim wanted me to come visit. So the youth shelter organised it so that I could get down to Brisbane. His mum would pick me up from there because she was getting something from somewhere in, I think, the old house, and she was going to drive me down to go visit Tim. Rule was, couldn't go back to Rockhampton for 6 months, so that was my time in Rocky was over. I came down, I went down to Sydney, had a visit with Tim, come back to Brisbane, tried staying at my parents for a very short period of time, but ended up in youth shelters near home, or near where my Pine Rivers high school I went to, and I still went to school. Continued school, doing all sorts of stuff, become the bully's bully because I got bullied before I left. When I come back, I decided that I wasn't going to get bullied anymore, and the people I made friends with made it so that if someone else was getting bullied, they would come to us, and we'd go be the bully's bully for a day or two. We'd show them what it was like. So high school became a bit fun. I ended up with, I wouldn't say a gang, but I had a big group of people that would come and hang around wherever I was. And there was no bullshit. Everyone got treated as equals, fairly, and you got to live your high school life without the crap. So one of those friends was Kelvin. He's a big fella. Apparently he's still doing security. Got the meanest left hook of anyone I've ever met in my life. Seen him bounce a few heads. Played footy with Calvin too. He came and played in our rugby league team. He's a good guy. I was friends with him for quite a while. Lost contact with him, haven't seen him for many years. So I just got my notes, just seeing where I'm up to. So my time in youth shelters, before I left school, there was a couple of people who weren't doing so well with their mental health. They were potentially suicidal, and I was able to talk a couple down. Two that were really serious, one that actually tried ODing on things that weren't going to kill them, but I didn't know that at the time. Ended up moving back in with mum and dad again for a short period of time. Again, couldn't handle living by their rules. I had my own freedom and my own independence, and just couldn't handle being under their rules and their curfews and their parents being parents and wanting me to live by their house rules. So I then moved out and started living with friends. A couple of different friends. Generally they were selling pot, and I would assist with them because of the contacts I had and the people I knew. Wasn't a great life. Didn't have a lot of money. Was struggling to look after myself properly. On the dole, because I'd finally left school because I got halfway through grade 10. Started waiting to school too often, so the school asked me to leave. I could leave and come back and do grade 11, or I could go and find another school. Didn't want to do that, so I left, had 6 months off. Went back to do grade 11, but after having 6 months off school and hanging around with the people I was hanging around with, couldn't handle being at school anymore. Now, for me, I'm disappointed I didn't do that, because that come back to haunt me quite a lot in my later life. I'll probably get to the story of where I tried to join the army. So, part of living away, I think it was after I'd finished halfway through quarter grade 11, almost knocked out my vice principal, and that was when I decided it was time to give schooling away. Went and did a bush regeneration course, which one of the local parks, it's a big wetland reserve bush area called John Oxley Reserve. We went in and we were doing all the weeding and planting native plants and putting boardwalks through. Anyone in the area that ever wants to go down and have a look, it's still there. Not in the same condition it was when we built it, but it's still there. Considering it was 20 something years ago, of course it's going to be a bit older. So it's cool that I've been back in recent times and gone for a walk down there to have a look. It was quite a walk down memory lane, because there was also a little fishing spot that we had down there when I was growing up, that we used to, all the kids would go and hide, disappear for the night and go fishing and sit around there drinking. Yeah, a lot of memories in that area. But that was the time I met the woman that would become my wife. At 17, she was 14. Her boyfriend at the time come to me to say that this girl wanted to score for pot for her mum. I may have been selling a little bit at the time, and so I've gone to a local service station, met up with him, he's met up with her, and as soon as I saw her walking across the car park, I turned to another friend of mine, and something told me that I was going to marry her. And I told him, if he's still around, I don't even know if he'll remember it, but I turned to him and I said, I'm going to marry that woman. He just like, what, you fucking don't even know her. What the fuck are you on about? Well, I was right, I did marry her. Went through some pretty awesome times at the start of our relationship. Really got to know each other, so I thought. her mum let me stay around because she'd been through some, I don't know if I should share it on here, it's her story, not mine, but she had some pretty horrible things happen to her at a younger age, and her mum knew about and allowed to happen through because of drugs. I came on the scene and I tried to protect her from her mum. They did not have a good relationship. They're as bad as each other when it comes to their narcissism, their depression, their anxiety, their aggression. They're very much mother like daughter. So eventually, my ex ran away and come to live with me. I was living with a friend of mine. She came to stay with that friend of mine, the mother-in-law. Made sure that wasn't going to be a thing. She got involved and put the fear of God into my friend. We ended up moving into a caravan together. No money, very limited income, paying for rent for the caravan. We had some pretty dark times, and I got to see a different side of her. That should have been the red flags. But I had made the choice that I was going to save this woman. Something told me that I was supposed to try and save her and get her out of her darkness and bring her to the light. She would come and go from the light to the darkness. She battled with a lot of her depression and anxiety for the entirety of our relationship. We ended up having 2 beautiful kids. I will get to them. But living with Renee, I had to find work. So I started to get into my working life, which will be what I'm going to touch on my next few things. So my employment changed quite a lot. I never found out what I wanted to be when I grow up. Still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Don't want to grow up. But meeting Renee changed my life. It gave me someone and a reason to actually give a shit about myself. It gave me a reason to be a man and live as a man, as I did when I ran away from home. That was the start of me learning to be who society told me to be and giving up on the real me. I suffered quite a lot in quiet. No one knew about it, kept it all to myself, dealt with it in my own head, and just got on with life. But it was also where I learned that I only lived with 2 emotions: frustration, and frustration leads to anger. And I had a pretty foul temper. I probably did help things in my relationship in the early days with my ex, because when she would start, I would respond accordingly, which was never good. Not violent, but just verbal. I don't want to go too far into that relationship, because as I get into when we had kids, our marriage and everything, we'll get into that. Probably in my next one, actually. But know that when I met her, I was head over heels. Everything about me told me that was the person I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with. I think it became a bit of a karmic lesson. A lesson I learned the hard way over many years. Remember, I ended up spending 28 years together with this person, and I still don't think I know the real her. She didn't know the real me. I think we both lived behind masks and pretended to be who we had to be for the situation at the time. We used to wear the reef knot as our rings, because we always said that the more people tried to pull us apart, the tighter we got. I don't know why. That finally, once I stopped pulling on my end of the rope, it all came undone. But that's a lesson I learnt. It's a lesson I'm still learning, but it's also something that I know now was not a great idea to keep pulling them way into the rope. Because what that did is it made me not a very good parent. It made me not a very good person. It made me not be me. Had some great times and great stories, and I will get into it. Sorry I'm a bit nostalgic around that one. It's still a raw wound that'll always hurt, because there was a long time and a lot of love between us. But there was also a lot of horrible things that happened and were said and were done. And I may go in a few of those stories, but at the same time, I don't think they're as important to my story. I don't think they're going to make anyone out there realise, but I will touch on the marriage a bit more in my next video. So again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being part of my story, and I'll see you guys on the next one when I continue. So please like, share, subscribe. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments, and I'll touch base on them on my next video. But thanks. I'll see you on the next one.